Welcome back. The three arms of government in Nigeria implies separation of powers, making it possible to divide responsibilities on the management of the country. Therefore, in living up to constitutional provisions, the present administration demonstrated the goodwill by reinforcing the independence of the third arm of government, the judiciary, as stipulated in the Constitution by signing Executive Order Number 10. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chumuba has more.
It is on record that President Buhari-led administration in the last 6 years recorded tremendous breakthrough in judicial reforms. The signing of Executive Order Number 10 by the President granting financial autonomy to both the judiciary and the legislative arms of government is meant to reinforce the independence of judiciary in line with the constitutional provisions.
I really commend this administration for standing its ground to effect the provisions of the Constitution on the issue of judiciary autonomy.
Mr. President believes that the judiciary is fully free at the federal level. They can question him, they can declare any action of the federal government unlawful, they can even put anything that they think on wrong to trial and without fetters. So Mr. President wants the same situation at the state level.
Some legal experts who spoke on the implications for administration of justice say adequate implementation will ensure true independence of judiciary.
When you have an independent judiciary in terms of, financial autonomy, which is one of the ingredients of that judiciary, the key ingredients in that autonomy, it will facilitate speedy dispensation of justice.
With the signing of Order 10 and the gradual agreement by the state governors, because that is the area where we have the highest problem. At the national level, I think the judiciary is independent. At the FCT, the judiciary is independent. And in about 14 states, the judiciary is independent because they have signed the Autonomy Act, autonomy law in the various states, which is not even necessary in the first place.
Some state governors have declared support for a financially independent judiciary by compliance and implementation.
We are conscious of the challenge that the respective states are having in terms of funds inflow. And so we provided in the template that where there is money received from the federation account and other sources, internally generated revenue, lower than what was budgeted or expected, then the state, each arm of government shall receive pro rata.
The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSN, had suspended the industrial action to drive home its demand for implementation of financial autonomy for judiciary. In Abuja, Vera Chumuba,
NTA News.
Equitable access to safe and effective vaccines to end COVID-19 is a task the international community takes seriously. Yet the arrival of these vaccines in the country across the globe is meeting with some hesitancy. On the heels of Nigeria's 61st years of independence, Oluseyi Adiagbo seeks answers on the country's vaccine rollout plans and how partners in COVID-19 national response are addressing the challenge of vaccine hesitancy.
It is imperative to underscore that no one is safe until everyone is safe.
President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, at the global stage acknowledging the effectiveness of vaccination in the control and management of COVID-19, is quick to add the voice of his delegation to make this statement.
I would like to reiterate my call for a fairer and more equitable distribution of vaccines in all countries so that together we can fight and contain the pandemic.
So highly encouraging it is to see these vaccines in millions arrive in Nigeria. But its rollout does not herald the immediate end of the pandemic, as attaining desired immunity will require the vaccination of a very substantial proportion of the country's population.
Vaccination process, is going on properly, and of course they have engaged in a lot of education and advocacy, and particularly to counter a lot of, false messages.
Even with the signatory of due diligence and quality assurance by Nigeria's apex food and drug regulatory body NAFDAC to the vaccines coming into the country, a cross-section of Nigerians are still refusing to take the vaccine. No thanks to fake news, myth and conspiracy theories.
The last time I watched it on social media, I saw the push spoon at the place of this, and then the spoon magneted.
I'm not really sure about this thing, so I can't take it that way.
And these conspiracy theories, we've been knocking them one after the other from those that say, oh, first people are going to die immediately. Over 4 million people have been vaccinated in Nigeria, and we've not received reports of a single death that has been linked to the vaccination, right? So we're very confident that these vaccines work. We're very confident that this is the tool that we need in Nigeria to help us build back better.
The public health specialist who frowns over procurement of fake COVID-19 vaccination cards says there is no plan to make vaccination compulsory.
The choice is there. It's not mandatory for you to take the vaccine. Either you take the vaccine, show evidence of the vaccine, or you do a test that shows that you are negative and you are not able to infect others. I believe anywhere you go, this makes sense, this is fair, this is just.
The issue is that we want people to come to Nigeria for their business, and we want Nigerians to go out for their business. For that to be ensured globally, because we always a global village, we must get ourselves safe. And it's only proven to be safe when you have your certificate of immunization.
Now that there is a surge in the NPHCDA vaccination updates and evidence of Nigerians coming to terms with the exercise, our next health report focuses on the state of health research. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
Thank you, Lucia. Nigerians are said to be one of the most religious people in the world, with majority of citizens as Christians or Muslims. In the last few decades, however, the country has witnessed many religious conflicts in spite of the peace preached by all religions. Why the conflict and where lies the solution? Well, Victor Azu is finding answers in the special report.
The Kafan transactional crisis in 2007 was seen as the first major religious crisis before the interreligious crisis broke out in Jos, Plateau State in 2011. By the time the dust settled, many people were dead and property worth millions of naira destroyed. Commissions of inquiry established after such crises have always come up with causes and recommendations to forestall recurrence. Yet, more of such crises are recorded.
Religion to us has played a very, very prominent role in our life. At the same time, it has also been used to serve as a means of discord among us. We need to understand that most of what we see as religious problems are actually not religious. They're either political or economic. But it's only wear the toga of religion.
However, some religious crises have been blamed on unguarded utterances by some religious leaders, hence the frequent calls for religious harmony.
We need to live here together, and more so as Nigeria is 61. Somebody being 61 is no longer a baby. There are some expectations, and part of it is maturity, tolerance, love, and peace. If the leaders will tell their adherents, so know that united we stand and divided we fall. I think it will go a long way to bringing the required or desired cohesion.
It's a campaign that government leads from the front, and supporting pilgrimages and inspiring spiritual growth, which tends to influence harmony across the diverse religions, are considered solutions.
By the time you go to Hajj, you further strengthen that belief that there's no difference between colors, male or female. You're all equal before God, and you're expected that when you come back, this community is not yours alone, that's Muslims alone. You are expected to integrate that teaching, because even during the life of the Prophet ﷺ, he lived with people of other religions. In fact, it will interest you to know that even in war, a Muslim is not supposed to destroy churches, other religious buildings. You're supposed to protect them.
You see a platform created under the presidency of Nigeria, which drive in the culture, the color of the people, the character, the different character together and united in that purpose for the sake of religious knowledge. And when you are in this exercise, nobody think about I'm from the south, I'm from the north, but you see people looking at themselves as Nigerians.
Such social cohesion, many believe, could have ripple effects such as unity and peace. Economic analysts also say commercial activities thrive in such an atmosphere and the nation experiences prosperity. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
Unity and peace, very key. The journey of other Nigerian women to development since independence has been a tasky one. But through a relentless push for determination and better future, they are making indelible strides. The education of a woman no longer ends in the kitchen. In this special report, Ngozi Silva Technique x-rays some achievements of women in different sectors in the past 61 years.
The voices of women in Nigeria's journey to development since 1960 are getting louder with the passage of time. The era when impact of women are felt only in childbearing, menial and domestic chores is gone, paving way for landmark achievements. In the fields of science, agriculture, politics and other spheres, women are breaking the glass ceiling. In fact, they sit side by side with their male counterparts, even in the boardroom.
But you can see that things are changing now. A lot of women are in position. A lot of men might not be comfortable with. But we have men that are he for she, men that now, we know that they are he for she, men that support their wives to do exploits, to reach the zenith of their careers.
The National Center for Women Development today is providing that enabling environment to support women's participation in the economic sector, while allowing them to contribute to sustainable national development.
Alluding to factors such as advocacy and enlightenment as being instrumental in achieving these heights, some women speak.
But I can see that my party are making every effort to change the narrative and to address issues of gender imbalance. If that is done, Mr. President must have risen his scorecard at the national and international level to a very high point.
So we must do everything possible to promote that and to do everything possible to walk along the area and the line of where women will benefit more.
Taking a retrospective analysis of the 6 years of the present administration, the drive by Nigerian women to realize the 50-50 affirmative action in elective and appointment positions seems unstoppable.
It's not so much of the law that we need, it's action, it's implementation. And if we can have that, I believe that the fortune of Nigerian women in terms of governance, elections, and politics will be a lot better than what it currently is.
As it is now, Nigeria is rated as one of the lowest African countries as far as women participation in politics is concerned.
With the movement of women to traverse all sectors of the economy with the speed of light, the dream of a woman being the #1 citizen in Nigeria may just be in sight. A tall dream, but achievable, the women promised. Ngozi Silva Technique, NTA News.
Proudly a Nigerian woman, any day, anytime. Let's head to Sokoto. Sokoto State is originally home to the House of Fulani people. It enjoys a uniqueness in its mutual understanding, tolerance, religious and business interactions among the people. Share Shehu Mohammed Eti takes a look at the attributes that unite the people for decades.
Civilization, administration and trade are what made Sokoto to stand tall among its peers in Nigeria. People of Sokoto are known to be accommodative to all, irrespective of tribe, religion and political affiliation. Accommodative nature of Sokoto State gave room for an able man to contest and win councillorship position in the state.
Civilization in the sense that they had contact, very early contact, even before colonialism and even during colonialism. Different contacts with different tribes in Nigeria and even outside of Nigeria. In Sokoto, you get an area that is called Nufawa in Sokoto, and you get an area that is called Zabarma and so on and so forth. And even Yarbawa, different quarters that can tell you that previously, some 100 or more than 200 years ago, these people came to Sokoto, and now they are indigents of Sokoto. So that kind of association, fairness and the justice that they knew very early, because they were taught according to their own religion that you just have to be fair to all.
Sokoto, being the seat of the caliphate, has its political history linked with the founding fathers of the caliphate, with Sir Ahmad Bello, the premier of northern region, being an heir to the throne.
Even if you look at their traditional background, for example, the Sultan of Sokoto, that is believed to be the leader, I can say, not only of the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria, I think the traditional institutions entirely. And you find him really very, very humble. And if you look at the background of the various people that ruled Nigeria from Sokoto, you could see nobody could accuse him of amassing wealth.
Religion, especially in my own people, they are the majority are Muslims. And the Christians mix up with the few Christians that are indigenous of Sokoto and other Christians. They have their various churches, various places of worship. And for once, we have never heard of any unusual thing.
When you don't cooperate together, when you don't mix together, there might be tendency for problems. Yes. So we cooperate together. We trade together. We mix up together. So that is the basis of the peaceful coexistence.
Political and public analysts say accommodative nature and religious teachings of the people of Sokoto are what gave room for many resident communities to acquire landed properties, own businesses, and establish marital relationships with Sokoto people and are living in harmony in the state. In Sokoto, Shehu Mohammed Eti, NTA News.
And still in the mood of Nigeria's 61st independence anniversary, the National Council for Arts and Culture has added razzmatazz to it with a unique cultural display aimed at fostering unity amongst future leaders. Oyena Kalu Oka tells us more.
Once upon a time, Nigeria used to be so blessed with rich, diverse culture. But all of a sudden, it is gradually fading with the influence of modernization, technology, westernization. But one organization says this must not continue because in our culture lies our diversity, and our diversity lies our unity. For a very long time, culture has been used to foster unity. And that is what the National Council for Arts and Culture is to bring back with its students. In this hall are the indication of Nigerian's rich cultural identity from different parts. Each item tells an interesting story.
What you see is the foreign culture.
The students were excited, anxious to explore what seems strange to them.
I can see you admiring the thatch roof. Yes, ma'am. They are beautiful, well decorated, and I'm actually very happy seeing this. And I wish it can be promoted and modernized by the government. Because actually, as a student like me, I didn't know much about the Southeast tradition. But I'm happy that I'm here and I have the chance to actually see this and other cultures as well.
It took me back to my culture. I was almost forgetting about my culture, who I am, where I came from. So these gatherings means a lot, and it takes us back to who we actually are.
They interacted with the aim of rebuilding community living and unity.
Because we'll be able to relate better as a nation, discuss and build more innovative ideas for sustainability to this great nation.
The Director General, NCAC, Olusegun Rushewe, says the time to start redirecting the younger generation's mind in building a united society with the use of cultural heritage is now.
And I want to specially thank President Muhammadu Buhari for giving us the presidential villa.
to host these children. Now, they've seen that they are not far away from government. They are not far away from authority. They are so excited, happy to be here. What we intend to achieve is to refocus them of our cultural values as a people.
With the theme, The Treasure of Our Beloved Country, Nigeria, the Independence exhibition is expected to be replicated in secondary schools across the country. Oyinaya Kalu Oka, NTA.
Amazing cultural display there, I must say. Let's head to Gombe, where the ground has been broken for the construction of 500 mass housing units in Gombe State and other intervention projects by the Northeast Development Commission. Emmanuel Akila reports that this is pursuant to achieving the core mandate of rebuilding the region by the Commission.
With steady win in the battle against insurgency in the Northeast region, the Northeast Development Commission is executing its mandate of rebuilding the region.
We are here with plenty of things for Gombe State, as we have done in other states, be it on the educational ground, agricultural, road rehabilitations, food for the destitute, and so on.
We are realizing the actualization of this commitment by the foundation laying ceremony of 250 houses here in this very place by His Excellency, the Governor of Gombe State. While the balance of 250 will be spread among other cities in the state, we are going to hand over the following items to His Excellency for onwards distribution to our people of concern in the state. Number one, 10,000 bags of rice, 25 kg rice, 10,000 gallons of vegetable oil, 2,000 cartons of tomato paste, 2,000 bags of sugar, 1,500 packets of Maggi cubes, 3,000 cartons of spaghetti.
To Gombe State, that has been housing thousands of internally displaced persons due to insurgency, the NEDC intervention is timely.
Gombe State government on its part put on 25,000 of displaced persons and those that have various forms of incapacitation on the our health initiative, the contributory health care scheme, Go Health.
Besides the 500 housing units, the NEDC delivered 2 equipped farm centers and 204 ICT trained technicians to Gombe State. Other interventions include food and non-food materials. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
Interesting. It's another interesting story. The Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, has once again been honored by the presidency through the Servicom office for her outstanding broadcast during the COVID-19 era. The accolade is part of activities aligned to mark this year's service week. Ikechukwu Ndukwe reports.
Thank you. We are saying thank you to Fuel the Heart for greater services, to appreciate you for the quality services you have rendered, and to also serve as fuel for the next 1 year as we continue to engage and provide services. So this is very symbolic. It will be
showcasing wisdom in the deployment of staff and equipment and effective broadcasting during the heightened period of COVID-19 pandemic were the attributes that prompted the award.
Let's work together with you each step of the way to make sure that the tasks are being done.
Alongside the NTA, the Servicom also honored the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, for his commitment in steering the Presidential Committee on COVID-19. In Abuja, Ikechukwu Ndukwe, NTA News.
Time for another break. Still to come, JAM faces some JAM questions. Plus, truck and train collision in Kano. We'll be right back. Good to have you back on News Extra. Let's talk business. 50 million African women in agribusiness have begun the journey to financial independence, just as investors in the capital market gain 25.29 billion naira. And we have Benny Adams on Business News. Hi, Benny.
Thank you, Fatima. Good to join you on News Extra. And welcome to business.
The process of empowering 50 million women in Africa has begun, with 5,000 Nigerian women in agro-commodities being trained and 100 being funded by Traders of Africa, a non-profit organization. The women in agribusiness drawn from across the country are acquiring knowledge on wealth creation, increased productivity, access to funds, monitoring, and access to market.
Number one, I can earn more income because now I have ready markets.
And they were not limited to them, which is very unselfish. We're going to be linked up to others.
After the funding, they don't just leave them, they are going to hold their hands. And for those that don't get funded, they are still going to be part of the TOFA tribe. That means that if you have any product, TOFA can still buy from you despite the fact that you are not funded. So this is indeed a very huge one for 50 million women because our women are going to be empowered.
Here we are in Nigeria, tomorrow we are in Mali, next tomorrow we are in Ghana, and like that. So we're trying to cover the entire continent in the next 5 years.
And still talking empowerment, the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDEN, has signed the 2021 Memorandum of Understanding with 6 deposit money banks to disburse 50,000 naira grant to more than 20 beneficiaries of the Conditional Grant Scheme in 12 states of the Federation. The Director General of SMEDEN, Dr. Umaru Diko, said since the inception of the grant in 2016, 28 states and the FCT have so far benefited from the scheme, with plans to reach a minimum of 100 beneficiaries across the 774 local government areas.
We'll continue to formalize the 40 million MSMEs that are informal, that is the macro businesses that are informal in the country, until when we reach an appreciable level of comfort that yes, we are able to formalize and our macro businesses can grow from macro to small to medium and to the large enterprise.
And on the capital market, investors gained 25.29 billion naira as all-share index inches up by 0.12% as market closed at 40,765.20 basis points. Market capitalization is 21.2 trillion naira. 400.6 million shares valued at 3.4 billion naira exchanged hands in 5,145 deals. Market breadth closed negative as FBNH led 18 gainers as against 19 losers, topped by Farm Deco at the end of today's session. Market turnover closed negative with FBNH, Transcorp and Etisalat as the most active to boost market turnover. FBNH and Guarantee topped market value list. That is business and news. Fatih, keep the extra.
I would sure keep the extra. Now, APEC Secretary General Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo said consumers should brace for more energy shortages unless the world boosts investment in new oil and gas development. In its first response to increasing calls to limit spending in oil investment by the International Energy Agency, advocating for seizing investment in new fossil fuel projects is the only way to slash world carbon emissions to zero by 2050. OPEC warns that recent periods of underinvestment, risk price shocks, and energy poverty for developing countries. He reiterates that the world can't afford underinvestment in oil. Now, imagine a situation where you are hungry and while preparing what to eat, suddenly you run out of gas and the food is half done. We women certainly know how this feels. Now, this is the situation most farmers in the northwest and parts of the north central find themselves. The rains ceased abruptly when most of the crops were at the milking stage. Musa Baba Aliu takes a look at the situation against the backdrop of the 2021 weather prediction. Musa, over to you.
Fatima, not only women feel frustrated when the cooking gas finished halfway, even the men too. Anyway, the frustration among farming communities is becoming glaring due to uncertainty over the rain. Let me share my discovery from places I visited. This rice plantation belongs to Abubakar Ibrahim Jalu,
from Makarfi local government area of Kaduna State. He's not only worried about the lack of rain, but also lack of moisture to sustain the rice that is yet to produce grains. He resorted into pumping water naturally to protect the plantation from drying up. The water pumping machine is also compounding this frustration of Ibrahim Jalu.
Expecting rain up to the end of or middle of October, and then this is now first week of October, and there's no rain. So I think the situation is beyond control. I don't know.
The experience of lack of rain cut across most states in the northern parts of the country. The rains have ceased since the middle of September in most parts of the region. Believing that prayers is the panacea to problems, farmers in Jigawa and Kaduna states resorted to open prayers according to Islamic rites, asking Allah to send down the rain.
This prayer will be answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and will grant us rain.
Back in Abuja, I visited the headquarters of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency to confirm if what is being experienced in some parts of the country is a dry spell or the definite seizure of the rain.
Taking on to weather information.
I met this group of scientists observing the weather pattern headed by Haruna Zakari.
We are expecting below normal rains across states like Katsina, states like Kano, part of Bauchi, Yobe State. And I think the reports we are getting here are exactly falling within those states that we are saying they have high chances of having rains below normal in the month of September. And unfortunately, not just having those rains below the normal, is that looking at September going into October, the cessation is already setting in.
Fatima, now the almost daily rain we are witnessing in Abuja will gradually also withdraw based on the NIMET prediction. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Musa, for sharing your experiences with us. Very, very educative. I think we should also pray here in Abuja and every other part of Nigeria. It is common knowledge that many Nigerians, especially rural dwellers, depend on firewood and charcoal for cooking. This method is said to have dire consequences on human health and the environment. To correct this, and in line with global advocacy to reduce coal-related carbon emissions, Nigeria is exploring innovations to make cooking energy safe and environmentally sustainable. Onenge Face takes the narrative from here.
It is estimated that by 2030, without major policy changes, more than 60% of households in Nigeria will still be cooking with unhealthy and unsafe methods. Now, these methods, like charcoal and firewood, are said to cause 78,000 deaths in Nigeria every year and worsens deforestation from unsustainable wood harvesting, thereby reducing the capacity of forests to uptake carbon. The good news, however, is that there are solutions in Nigeria, with Nigerians driving initiatives for clean cook stoves to save lives, protect the environment, and create clean jobs in the country.
The dynamics of this is that it uses waste, corn cobs, as fuel. So you don't need to use kerosene, you don't need to use anything. It uses 100% waste.
To avoid the forest from deforestation and to keep the environment clean, because these are waste material. Packing them to make this, it keeps the environment clean, and you can save at least 50% of your money by using this one.
To scale these initiatives, the Ministry of Environment is engaging stakeholders to develop new policies on clean cooking to combat climate change.
The NMPC have their gas expansion plan. They've started their LPG production. Ministry of Women Affairs is doing the same. So we now want to bring everyone under a subcommittee within the Interministerial Committee on Climate Change to be able to handle this clean cook stove issue.
We need a national policy on clean cooking. We need a financing framework, and we need to build partnership with the international community.
Outcomes from this forum are expected, among other things, to boost local capacity for the likes of Binta and Idris to produce more clean cook stoves in the country. Onenge Face, NTA News.
A truck loaded with sand early Wednesday ran into a moving cargo train along the narrow gauge rail track in Kano metropolis, forcing one of its wagons to derail, thereby causing traffic obstructions along the busy Ahmadu Bello Way, Kano. Aminu Umar reports that thankfully no casualty was recorded.
The accident occurred early this morning when a tipper loaded with sand ran into the passing cargo train that was just arriving Kano from Inguru in Yobe State. A wagon of the train derailed, forcing it to stop at an intersection, causing blockade on both lanes of Ahmadu Bello Way. Although no eyewitnesses claimed witnessing the accident, early callers that were alarmed by a loud bang, while indoors said they came out to see the driver of the truck stable, both with minor bruises in the face.
The driver was okay. I only saw blood in his face.
When the train approaches, we used to stop drivers, but they sometimes refuse to stop to the extent that some insult us.
Some observers who frown at the recklessness of drivers, especially along railway crossings, also lamented over the absence of the customary rail crossing signs now that the trains are back on their tracks. As at press time, personnel of the Nigerian Railway Corporation and security agencies are working towards re-rolling the train to its track and restoring traffic normalcy. In Kano, Aminu Umar, NTA News.
Following the earlier collapse of a portion of Onitsha Owerri road as a result of erosion that has eaten deep into the expressway, motorists and residents have continued to commend the federal government for the prompt intervention in fixing the served portion. Maureen Ezeokeke has the details.
You would recall the state of a portion of the Onitsha Owerri Road near Meteorological Institute, Onitsha, which was adversely severed, caving in not too long ago. But with the prompt intervention of the federal government, the road has been fixed for easy access, thereby reducing the hardship experienced by motorists and passers-by. The motorists, however, expressed delight on the state of road now.
I myself, I was very happy because this is unlike our country, because this one, they did it very fast. Although we suffered a little bit in that time, but they responded very fast.
And thank you for the federal government project they do for us. So I'm very, very happy for them.
Some of them pleaded with the authority to channel the flood appropriately to avoid further damage to the road.
People living around the Bolo, there are no drainage for rain.
We need a permanent solution. If you go down, you see the kind of devastation the erosion has caused. So the job has to continue so that the flood will go straight to the stream.
They are hopeful that the federal government will also intervene in other failed portions of federal roads in the state. In Onitsha, Maureen Ezeokeke, NTA News.
The Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy is working round the clock in making sure that all data in the country are protected to prevent users from being defrauded, in line with government-secured Digital Nigeria. The assurance was given at the first Nigeria Data Expert Conference and Training in Abuja. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday reports.
Globally, many organizations now rely on the use of big or small data to make decisions that affect the people in all ramifications, especially with the advent of the coronavirus. However, some take advantage of the space to defraud others. Concerned by the negative impact of the internet, the Nigerian government is refocusing its attention to safeguard the internet space and explore the benefits of data in line with the economic diversification drive.
The ministry has rolled out over 16 policies in the last 2 years. Policies to safeguard it, to secure it, to make sure that you trust us with the journey to deliver a digital Nigeria.
The digital economy grew by over 17%. And what every smart nation will do is to diversify. Data will be very central in the diversification process.
This prioritized area of data.
The convener, Lamidi Ahmed Badagana, said the world is now information-driven economy where data is not only the main currency, but the new oil.
There's a renewed determination to leverage on the economic opportunity that are bound to transform the ICT sector in Nigeria. This will achieve through public and private sector synergy, as well as immense knowledge sharing opportunity.
With intelligent data, access to relevant information that can help transform lives and create massive opportunities to citizenry becomes massively accessible and available. Wealth can be equitably distributed, and this will help in reducing poverty and improving living standards of people.
Organizers say the expo is to make Nigeria become the hub for data, where information can be processed faster for quick decision and policy making. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Members of the House Committee on Tertiary Education and Services have visited the headquarters of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, with their pens, papers and questions. Olenka Ojo reports that the examiner was given its scorecard after the oversight engagement.
JAM questions filled candidates with trepidation. This time, JAM is the one answering some tough questions.
If you look at the list of the project there, the years were not stated. Some of the projects were completed, some were ongoing. How much was paid so far for the ongoing project not stated?
The visit by the House Committee on Tertiary Education and Services to JAM, but the examiner under some legislative examination. After so much questioning how monies were spent in the execution of projects from 2018 till date and answers given, the chairman of the House Committee responsible for higher education in Nigeria urged JAM not to rest on its arse. This is because the committee will continue to train an eagle eye on the board's activities.
This committee is fully, absolutely satisfied with the services that are being rendered. If it is to the contrary that we met here, we will straight ahead go and share it with members of the public. For the issue of exam malpractices, I think we are on the same page with JAM, with Ministry of Education. We must try as much as we can to eradicate this thing, to rid this virus from our system.
With the plan to turn its CBT centers to that of International Professional Examination Center, JAM says it intends to expand the capacity of one of its computer-based test centers to accommodate 2,500 candidates at a go.
Even if we limit ourselves to just 4 sessions a day, we'll be able to cover 10,000 candidates per day. And this will be very, very soon because the process is on.
The visit also availed the committee members the opportunity to have first-hand information of the workings of JAM's admission processes through the use of the Central Admission Processing System, CAPS. Olenka Ojo, NTA News.
Another break beckons, please stay. Welcome. Reactions have continued to trail the recent shutdown of some social media platforms, which Facebook attributed to an internal technical issue. Facebook chief executive has since apologized for the failure. All these coming just as Telegram announced a record 70 million new users after the Facebook outage. ICT correspondent Joseph Johnson reports.
For whatever reasons, the fact is, billions of people globally were for several hours, 6 hours actually, denied access to some social media platforms owned by an individual, Mark Zuckerberg. The social media platforms include Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram.
About 3.5 billion users of these platforms across the world and thousands of businesses were left confused, with many losing money. Facebook was, however, not exempt, as the company was said to be losing billions of dollars in hours, and its share price fell, while Mark Zuckerberg personally lost more than $6 billion.
And it was like the world is going to an end or something.
We have so much attached our livelihoods to this thing.
While some ICT experts frown at the development, especially as businesses were negatively impacted, others say it is high time Nigeria fast-tracked the development of indigenous apps and patronized them.
It is also interesting that Facebook's whistleblower, who alleged that Facebook chooses profits over safety, began her testimony to the US Congress around the same time as the incident occurred. The single biggest lesson for all of us is to ensure that we spread our risks and dependencies. Do not put all your eggs in one basket.
By building our own local platforms, one, it allows our government to be able to generate revenue for itself, and above all, most importantly, our youth who would be responsible for building this kind of technological solution would get to be engaged.
Although the services have since been restored, but the development, many say, has shown how human interactions today are at the mercy of tech giants. Joseph Johnson, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with the government and people of Enugu State on the passing of community leader and great mobilizer Sir Geoffrey Tochukwu Tabansi, who passed away recently. The president commiserated with family, friends and associates of the deceased who served the nation meritoriously, retiring as a federal director of housing. President Buhari knows that the late Tabansi contributed tremendously to the development of the housing sector in various capacities, professionally rising to a council member in the National Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers until his last breath. President Buhari prayed that Almighty God grant the deceased eternal rest and strengthen the family and friends as they mourn him. And that's it on News Extra. But before we go, be a star, connect with the NTA and stand against rape and rapists. I am Fatima Mabuba. Enjoy the rest of your night.
A dull moment around him. His table is always full. So he's a people's person, and he has that big heart of forgiveness. He's an individual that believes in himself, believes in his nation, believes in his custom and tradition, and believes in the family way. He's a disciplinarian, he's a hard-working man, he's a pace setter. He has created jobs in various sectors, which is